Thank you, Diane, and we deeply appreciate all that you do on behalf of New Century College. I'm honored to introduce our convocation student speaker, Mr. Zachary Kirby. Zach Kirby's time at Mason shows the beginnings of a life committed to the arts and social justice. As an arts and culture concentration, he began his academic career in our first-year experience program. He committed his studies to understanding hip-hop culture, the African-American experience, the discipline of philosophy, and music as expression of self. Zach's senior portfolio presentation, entitled Free Lunch, was a manifestation of his belief that art is everywhere and powerful. Within his presentation, he photographed his everyday life and performed a soundtrack to the moving images showing the banality and beauty of everyday life, while not veering away from the trauma of modern day life. This love of and faith in arts is not something he keeps to himself. In his hometown of Richmond, Virginia, Zach helps run summer camp and after-school programs for 3 housing projects. This program's aim is to empower K through 8th grade students through the arts. His commitment to scholarship, social justice, and artistic expression truly is an inspiration to us all. Please join me in welcoming Zach Kirby.
Wow. Let me get this straight. Thank you for the words. Good morning. Get my tassel out of my face. So, when I was 8 years old, I once told my mom, I said, "Mom, when I grow up, I'm going to go to George Mason University to be an integrative studies major in New Century College." And here I am. I'm sure many of you can relate to this, as all of us have dreamed of this day since time and beginning, and it's happened exactly as we thought it would. No. It wasn't until very recently that I figured out what an integrative studies major really is, and I'm almost certain that my mom will never quite understand. Now, that's something that I'm sure most people can relate with. New Century College is a destination that one arrives at, not by convention and planning, but rather by way of real life. And what a coincidence that is, because as an integrative studies major, life is exactly what you'll be studying. Let's face it, a large majority of us have come by our major in a very circumstantial way. It kind of just happened. Either George Mason didn't offer the major you were looking for, such as a traditional major in education, or perhaps you weren't the best test taker. Many of us were enticed by Fridays off and that extra 2-week vacation. Personally, I was disgusted by traditional majors like business, and I was looking for a way to stick it to convention. Ironically, I was wooed by 2 great salesmen, Sarah Sweetman and Matt Bruno. And they sold me on giving NCC a chance. Everything that they presented me with about this program sounded too good to be true, and I was waiting for the catch. 4 years later, I'm still waiting. New Century College emphasizes competency-based learning, where making connections is the name of the game. Connections between academic works or fields of study, between places or cultures, between individuals, and most importantly, the connection between these concepts being learned and the application of them in real life. We don't just talk about our world and our lives' most pressing issues. We set out to do something about them. Pretty foreign concept in academia. To me, it seems that in life, making connections is the name of the game as well. The more people, places, and things we know and find a common link to, the greater our opportunity for happiness. In a curriculum based on connections, it is interesting to think how much the New Century learning experience has paralleled and been connected with my personal life. NCC's learning philosophy couldn't suit me any better. I have always felt that I didn't learn anything if I couldn't tell you how it applies to me right here, today. I've never really cared what grade I received on a report card. I judge my success by what I actually retain and learn about myself through a course. All of us as human beings are seeking to know something, to have some certainty of something. I choose to chase knowledge of the closest and the farthest, the most simple and the most complex thing, me. New Century College has given me a great opportunity to further my knowledge of myself, mainly through getting to know others. However, no great opportunity comes without sacrifice, and many a social event in my freshman year were sacrificed trying to write 100-page papers every night. I don't recall knowing anyone in the first year experience that knew exactly what was going on. Every day was a surprise. Discussions took us weird yet relevant places, and people and things that seemed to be polar opposites now shared common denominators. For many of us, the stress and chaos, as well as the light bulbs that were going off in the first year experience classes, paralleled our own personal lives. Just as we were beginning to piece together the puzzle on what exactly this program was, we were also piecing together the puzzle of who we were and sorting out our new freedoms and responsibilities as college students. Just as it all seemed like too much, the first year was over. It wasn't until a couple days after school had ended that everything I had learned over the year really hit me. It was like electricity, and I was addicted to this way of learning. Now, everybody here is pretty familiar that there's a common misconception by some of our non-NCC colleagues that being an integrative studies major is easy. I remind these people that there's a reason that I didn't know them until I was a sophomore. The first year experience is a lesson in bearing down and working diligently that I applied once again to my personal life and my professional life. When our employers ask us to write 5-page reports and we say, "That's it?" maybe the stereotype will finally die down. As our first year faded into our second and third years, we as a collective NCC community began to make valuable connections with one another. Through the deeply reflective nature of many New Century courses, we were given a head start on knowing one another on a deeper than the surface level. Our discussion-based classes gave us a chance to get comfortable with each other and provided a dialogue that could be carried outside of the classroom and into some real-life, lasting friendships. A discussion based on a project assigned in Art as Social Action, taught by Suzanne Scott, led to a very real-life connection for me. A young woman in that class and I shared mutual compliments for one another's projects and our points made over the course of the semester. That encounter spawned a romantic relationship and now our engagement. It gets better. Chloe and I welcomed a baby girl into the world on November 16, 2010. Hey, Brooklyn. Thanks in large part to the opportunities NCC has provided to integrate life and learning. Granted, that is a pretty dramatic example. But I'm sure all of us can think of countless instances in which something from the New Century classroom reached past those walls and affected our lives. Throughout our academic experience, New Century has preached that there are no wrong answers as long as you have evidence to support your claim and you can reflect on what your answer means to you. Again, I find a connection with NCC in life because our lives, especially as young people, most of us, are blank canvases. There is no right or wrong answer. And whatever picture you paint or statement you make is justified through your evidence, the people you touch and uplift. And when you reflect on what your life has meant to you, I hope it fills you with great happiness. Graduates, integration is what makes the world go round. The connection between different people creates new life and new cultures. And connecting different ideas creates new knowledge and new technologies. As people who have an understanding of this power, it is important that we share this light with as many people as possible. And maybe one day, there will be an 8-year-old that says, "Mom, I want to be an integrative studies major." Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you, Zach, for your creative scholarship and commitment to transforming communities. As you can see, Zach Kirby is not only an exceptional student, he's an extraordinary individual. And to Zach Kirby's family members, we are proud of the many accomplishments, as I know you are as well. It's my pleasure to introduce